and welcome to a connecting conversation with Family Fuse, where we connect with members of the community to gain insight on how to build a better future for all. I'm Jaydlin Spooner, and today we are talking with John Elliott, the Executive Director for the Sandwich Teen Action Group, aka STAG. Good afternoon, John, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So just to start things off, can you tell us a bit about the organization's history and why it was created?
Yeah, for sure. And when you said STAG, it kind of reminds me of when I started here and sometimes talking to people and using that acronym, right? We would answer the phone, Sandwich Teen Action Group. I tell the students in the office the same, right? Because I want people to get confused and think it's like, okay, the STAG shop or something, right? So I said, just say the whole name and, get people used to it. The kids know what it is though, right? So anyways, it was, the center was founded by two police officers, guys by the name of Mike McKenzie and the late Dave Deutsch, who's passed away recently. They were two cops in the West Side, and they're originally from the West Side. They both went to Forster, and they seen the need for a place where initially it was for girls, because what they were seeing at the time was a lot of girls, very young, 14, 15 years old, getting pregnant and, being kind of stuck as single moms at such a young age, right? So they had this vision to provide a place where the girls could go and find, probably have positive role models, kind of mentors. I know Dave at the time took a lot of the girls to House of Shalom because their program was already up and running. So kind of was modeled a little bit after the House of Shalom as well. But soon enough, they found out that, okay, we have something for the girls, but what about the boys? Because, they're kind of left out there. So it became a center for boys and girls, 13 to 19 years old. The earliest conversations about the center were back in '89, I believe, with those two cops. There were, in fact, some counselors from Forster High School that were involved in those conversations. And the center opened October 1991. The doors opened. I came in '93. A little bit of my background was I had worked with Parks and Rec in the youth program, right out of high school, went away. I was actually working in government with IRCA, and then just decided I wanted to do something fulfilling. So I came back to the youth. And at the time, Mike and those guys were looking for a program coordinator at the center here. So it was perfect for me because I lived in the West End, grew up in the West End, knew a lot of the kids in the family. So it was a good fit at the time. A lot of work. I remember when I got here, it was, it was a little organization that grew real fast, if you can imagine. So my job initially when I got here was not only to work with the teen youth, was my specialty, but organize the center, right? And I always thank the founders because they left good blueprints on how they wanted the place to look and to be set up. So that's a bit of the history. One of the other founders, he raised the money. We know him as Uncle Red. Real name's Dave Red Wilson, and he raised, I think they said it took $100,000 to get the program off the ground back then, and he raised it in like 3 months or something. Real strong union, vice president, and very well known in the community. So it was those three guys that were very instrumental in getting the center started. So
awesome. Yeah, I was just about to say, I looked up the action group on Google, and I saw that the inside is like incredibly creative, and there's murals all over the walls and stuff like that. So what are some of the highlights of the building, and what's included in the actual physical site?
Well, that was one of the things that the founders wanted. They had this vision to, paint, because it looked like a school. It's an old school building. So they took out all the old chalkboards and desks and anything that sort of replicated it being a school. But, visually, you can look at it and it's like, okay, that's a school building. But when you come inside, what I did was to follow their print was to hire art students over, I think I want to say around 4 or 5 years during that time. In the summertime, the government offered grant money to hire summer students. So of course, I hired art students. I'd hire 4 students a year. I remember they would come in, show me all their painting drawings because I can't paint or draw. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Okay, you're hired. And so where are we painting, John? I said, anywhere you see yellow, because the whole building was that institutional yellow. So we were able to get over 4 or 5 years, a combination of different art kids, like very talented. And basically what it did was, although it looks like a school from the inside, it just give it that home, felt more like home with the murals on the wall, and it was done by the students. And then as you go through the building, we have the different, what they would have been classrooms, but now we call the one a games room. So you'd have pool tables, ping pong tables, foosball, air hockey. There's a movie theater room with probably, I think there's about 40 seats that I got from the Palace Theater when it closed down. Big screen seat TV, surround sound, like a snack bar. We have like a pop cooler and popcorn maker and hot dog thing, everything like a movie room. Computer lab library. So a lot of books were, I remember the people back then, the library and just people in general were throwing away books. So no, don't throw away the books, bring them to me. We had some good shelving in the space. So I started collecting all the books. I come from books. So, but what we did is we put computers and printers in the library for the students. So every now and then you'd get like a project group of kids, 3, 4 kids that had to do projects together. So they're able to use a computer lab, has the internet, they can print. I didn't find that too many of them use books, but every now and then one would want to borrow a book to read or something. Yeah, and it's fine. But we have a real wealthy library when it comes to books. And I got them from the University of Windsor, the Ambassador Library, private people. Like I said, I was like, don't throw them away, bring them to John, right? We have a big kitchen. We always try to do a food program. Thankfully, my wife is a chef, so she's been known to come in and, just after school, fix up something real quick for the kids. She kind of shows them how to eat healthy for like $10, right? Rather than go to McDonald's, come here, I'll show you how to eat something real healthy and for $10, right? So she'll teach them, sit down, have something to eat, the youth clean up. The girls, they have their own space. So in the back, what we call the back hall, there is a room that it resembles an apartment flat. So the girls have everything in there, including kitchen, washroom, big entertainment room. Like they don't even have to come out of there. So for years, it was the girls group program ran on Tuesday nights, and the girls would come in around 5:30. They'd have their own coordinators, and they'd organize the month of things they wanted to do together as girls, right? Because one of the things is when they come to the center and they're like that, I call this sensitive age, like 13 to say 16, they don't need pressure from the boys. So they have their own space. They have their own issue meetings where they talk, what girls talk about with a female coordinator. Only time they approach me is when they need some money to go to the show, or a group of them are going bowling or something like that, right? So that group ran for many years. Currently, right now, it's the program's sort of down a little bit because of COVID. I have some girls coming, but they're mostly hanging around playing basketball in the gym, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a fitness program. It's an independent program that we run with a partner. What else? Yeah, that's what it in a nutshell, right? But you could imagine the building being the size of a school building, a grade school building. The gymnasium is by far the most popular spot because, I'll have like 40 boys after school, and here they come from all over the city to play basketball, because where do they play basketball and it's safe and all the boys know? STAG, right? So it's a real busy gymnasium, but it's where all the ball players come, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. I just kind of also want to talk about the COVID-19 situation, because your organization is so localized in that building. That's such a safe place for all these kids. And I know there's even the Bloomfield House that's a part of that as well, I believe.
Yeah, the Bloomfield House is, they have a space over in the neighborhood, right over on Bloomfield Street, about 5 minutes away from us. And the founder of that Bloomfield House was a young man by the name of TJ Travis that grew up here at the center with me. Mm-hmm. So he went on, he's like artsy, poetic, music, drumming kind of guy. And so he found that he had a property over there. He found the Bloomfield House. So yeah, we try to partner as much as we can with what's ever going on in the community. But like I said, TJ grew up here in the center, right?
Right. Yeah, we've done a few projects with TJ as well. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just with the whole COVID-19 situation, has your
Mhm.
program had to kind of move things to the online format, or you guys
Yeah.
kind of totally shut down? What's
Yeah, well, whatever the government dictated. So when the lockdown was the lockdown, we locked down.
Mhm.
So basically, we would follow the school, whatever the schools do, because we have the high school kids. Currently, we have some government projects that we're working together on. One's called Black Youth Action Plan. That's a 4-year provincial government program that works with youth, 7 all the way up to 25. But predominantly, they're the younger kids that would come to the center are from 7 to about 12 years old. So they have their own space here. They have a facilitator that would run that program. But when COVID hit, of course, everything was online. So they did as much resources and whatever they could do online. Same with another program that's partner programs called AIM, Advocating Young Minds. And they have their space is located in the St. Joseph Projects. They have an actual unit that they run out of. So generally the kids would come there after school. A lot of them live right there in the projects, a lot of the foreign kids. So their parents are real trusting with this program because they could see where the kids are going from their front door, right in the project housing. And once COVID hit, they had to go online. Our teenage boys, that play basketball, well, they were at home sitting, they couldn't do much, right? So a couple of them called me up to try to sneak them in or something. I was like, no. And when everything was locked down, we were locked down. I had to work because, of course, we have, I think there's like 9 staff with the different government projects. So I'd have to come in, make sure they were still getting paid, keep an eye on the building of what was happening. Actually, we were able to get a lot of renovations done. One of the guys that works with me. So we renovated a lot of things in the building that we needed to get to. So, it was a positive that way. But yeah, certainly challenging times working through this COVID, like even currently right now that you're only allowed 10 in your building at a time. So I have the basketball kids coming in, of course. So I have a group that comes in from 3 to 5:30, 10 to 12 of them, because a couple of them could be staff. And then from 5:30 to 8 o'clock, a new group comes in at the same time, right? So it's where we're working it out. I mean, it's kind of a pain because, it'll get filled up real quick and then there's some outside the door, oh, you can't come in. That drives me crazy because our job is to bring them in. But, what's going on with the situation, I think we just need to be safe, keep it safe and do what we need to do to try and get past this thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely things are looking a little bit better. Hopefully, I think things are moving in the right direction, but
Yeah.
yeah, we all can't wait to get back going again. And you talked about the kind of having to pay the employees that work for the organization, and just how does the action group get funding? Is it through donations?
Well, those employees, they're on government projects. So that's we administer the funds, but the project pays all their wages. I'm the only paid staff currently with STAG. We're funded by United Way. So we're a funded agency of United Way. We have been for, I don't even know how many years now, but in essence, that's who would pay my wage and any support staff I have. Typically, I'd have another staff person, but just right now, there's just me. Through New Beginnings organization, I have a staff person through there. So we sort of make ends meet with the being funded by United Way. Then we have tenants that rent space in the building. We run bingos. That's what helps pay, the hydro and whatever. The building's paid off. So it's just a matter of paying the overhead costs. Certainly the bingo was affected. So that funding was affected. But through the government projects right now, we've been able to hold pretty good, right? Because those projects pay rent plus utilities. But by this time next year, if things don't open back up and some of our funding streams get back to normal, yeah, we'll be in trouble a little bit.
Mhm.
But we're we're planning for that now. We're working on some things now, so we don't wait till that time comes. We'll have some things in place and we can keep going, right? And the game is keep the doors open.
Mhm.
Just keep the doors open, you know, so the kids can keep coming, keep them off the street, keep them out of trouble.
Mhm.
Basically, that's it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully things open back up here. I
Mhm.
know everyone's getting pretty frustrated, but if we
Yeah,
all work together, it'll eventually get back to normal.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so just kind of moving on, Family Fuse works closely with parents, and we've seen and heard of more and more disadvantaged children becoming discouraged by the shift to online school and having their after school activities stalled.
Yeah.
What has the action group seen in reference to this problem? Do you also kind of see this happening? And what is your response to it?
Yeah, I don't hear from the parents firsthand, whereas Family Fuse would. I was interested in the last time we had the meeting when hearing some of the parents and the struggles with their kids and stuff. See, I wouldn't hear that.
Mhm.
You know, our kids come here. It's an outlet. You know, it's a social outlet. It's a recreational outlet, and you know, they're just happy to be able to, you know, come back, right, and start playing ball, or sometimes they hang out in the pool table room and they're just out with their friends. So I see the other side of it because, like I said, we're more social recreational. So like, I don't know what the impacts are with some of the kids in terms of what you just asked, because I wouldn't get that information right. Like
Right, for sure.
none of them, I haven't had any of them approach me about struggling with, you know, having a proper laptop and you know, internet and being able to do their schoolwork. My questions to them are typically, you know, are you going to school or are you working at home? And, you know, usually the teens are doing both, right?
Mhm.
And none of them have expressed having any real problems to me, but, you know,
Right.
there probably are some out there, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back on what you said, we did have that talk about streaming, which has as of late come under the spotlight, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement and kind of this really big spotlight on systemic racism in Canada,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. And I just kind of wanted to ask you if the action group has seen the effects of streaming and how it can impact a Black student, or even if you have what your opinion is on the subject.
You know, it's a bit of an introduction to me because, you know, I sort of work in my own silo in terms of, you know, that sort of thing. Um, you know, I'm more of a listener and learner when it comes to that and what's happening in the schools and how they're changing that, right? Because once again, I wouldn't have any information about it really, you know, but very simply, um, from afar, what I see is that if kids are being streamed just to go to college and not being able to get an opportunity to go to university, yeah, there's a problem there, right? So that needs to change. You know, like, um, you know, there are kids that have different potentials, right? But at the end of the day, it should be their choice in a lot of ways, right? Like if the kids, I have two at home. I have two daughters left. One goes to college, one goes to university, but they both aspire at some point, sometime to become teachers, right? So, you know, I try to support them as much as I can through that, but I wouldn't tell them, well, no, I don't think because you go to college that you'll be able to be a teacher, right? You know, like what do you need in terms of supports and whatever to fill your potential, and that's what you want to do. And both of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a good. I'm glad it's something that's being brought to the forefront. You know, one of the many problems I think going on in the school boards these days, but you know, it's a mountain of problems that's going on in the schools, and just to segue right into that from one of the questions, you know, that's the root. When I look at the whole big problem, because it's not, I don't think it's anything that's going to be solved anytime soon, because I think the problems in the school board were from a long time ago, and they've just compounded themselves to where, you know, someone finally, the people are recognizing, wait a minute, right? We have to start attacking, we have to start trying to change some things with the school board. I think, what I talked about on the Zoom meeting was, the need for some diversity in the teachers, right? And and that's just one root of problem. There's many problems, and there's many layers that you're going to have to work through to try and change it, right? And I think right there, I just don't know the answers to why there aren't more diversity in the teachers, right? And I proposed that, and I think one of the panelists were, something about it's an HR thing, right? And my comeback, I worked in the city of Windsor, and all the jobs are streamed through HR. And so then my next question would be, who are these HR people, and are they of different cultures, right? Because I'll say for the city, I had nieces. One of my other daughters, she has a master's social work. Different people of color have been applying to try to get in the city. They can't get in the city, even with all the qualifications, right? So what's that tell you, right? Like they're just not being given the same opportunities, right? So, but even suggesting that the teachers be more diverse doesn't mean, oh, okay, they're Black, so they have all their credentials, give them a teaching job. I'm not saying that neither, because I think the teachers that we need are ones that are going to care about the students, and sure, you have to get paid to make a living, but they'd have to be teachers that are Black teachers that want to relate to the kids. Because I teach, right? I don't teach on the chalkboard, but I teach life skills. So when I see a particular kid that has a set of problems, I bring them in closer, right? I bring them in closer to try and help teach them, put them on good paths to be able to, work their way through some of those problems, because, a lot of kids, they just don't have the same supports at home. I see a lot of them, right? Like kids that, there's probably one parent at home, and that parent may be just working, so they're left at home to their own devices, right? Like, I always would pose that question to my kids, and it would sound like, okay, imagine not having both your parents, because my kids have always had both their parents. So they don't know what it is not to have one or the other one of us. What do you think your life would be without one of your parents, right? I try to pose that to them. So I see those kids. So getting back to it, I think that's the type of teacher too, is the one that identifies there's a kid, they have a problem. Typically, what I've seen, if the kids have broke down and having problems, that's because there's a problem at home. Usually that's where the root is. Something's going on at home, why that kid, 14, 15, 16 years old, is already down and out, right? Because they're too young to be down and out at that age. So that's where I think having good teachers to kind of peel back those layers and, help the kids along. I had good teachers, man. Like when I think back, grade school, high school, and I could pick out certain teachers that were solid to me in both teaching and in life, right? And that's the kind of teachers, you want to have too, those ones that have that good life, give you that good life experience too. Not the ones that it's a status and, I just want to teach and then go back to the suburbs or wherever I live in, because the kids, they figure that out very quickly. The kids know what teachers care about and which ones don't, right? Like the kids are smart like that, right? So, and then having Black teachers, somebody that relates to you, like that's how I relate to these kids here. I have looks and tones with these teenagers, right? Because they know, right? I don't have to say a whole lot to them for them to understand where I'm coming from. Like last night, I could laugh about it. I wasn't laughing last night, but there's a group of boys in the gym. And they're all friends, and they all play together, and they're always arguing, right? They argue a call. I can hear them all the way down here, right? So I'll go down, start turning the lights out, meaning that if you guys don't start playing together and cut it out, I'll just send you home. Working down in the building, here it goes again, right? So I march down there. Now I'm mad because they're teenagers. Some of them are senior boys too. not the babysitters club. Okay. Lights out, go home, take the week off. Now stay home for the week, you group of them, the ones that were there. Right. And that's my meaning, right? Like trying to teach you the right things. Right. And so, yeah, but but I don't know what they're going to do in the school boards, right? Like it's a mountain of problems, but now, the Black parents, Family Feuds and the groups are saying, wait a minute, right? We need to change some things, because when you start losing the kids, that's when there's a problem. I know the one parent, Nikki, she, man, I felt bad, right? Because her son is just like, but they're too young to lose them. You can't, if you're 40 years old and you missed, I don't know what to tell you. You made some bad choice in your life, you might miss the boat, right? But when they're of that age, like, grade school through high school, that's the age where you got to mold them and make sure you get them on their way good. And it takes everybody, right? If you're a teacher, if you're teaching my kids, I expect that you would teach them just like I do, right? So anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, it's such a big problem to tackle, and it'll definitely not happen overnight, but I think there definitely needs to be a change in the teaching curriculum at school.
Yep.
Or an addition of more cultural sensitivity, I guess would be, I'm not sure what the right word is, but
well, no, Black history
yes.
curriculum. Try, and this goes way up to, I don't think the teachers the actual teachers could implement that program, but the higher ups in the government and the Ministry of Education, they need to put some Black curriculum in the school stuff, because there's enough history to where a lot of the Black kids would gravitate to those courses. Unlike me, I know where my family came from. I know the history of my family, but a lot of the Black kids don't. So why not offer a course where they can learn about who they are, where they come from, potentially where their families come from? Why not? Why not? It's a part of history, right? And it's long overdue that, and make it a not really, you don't have to make it a prerequisite course. Everybody doesn't have to take it, but offer it and see how many of those kids would gravitate towards that course, right?
Absolutely.
But the powers that be, they have to decide to want to do that to make things better and try to put things more on an even, right? But yeah, it's a mountain of problems. Like I salute the group of people, Family Feuds, that are taking on this monumental task of trying to, make some changes in the school board, because over time it'll happen, but it's just going to take some time. So I hope, everyone's in it for the long haul, because it's not going to be anything that's going to happen overnight in a lot of ways. And there's some real, the detailed stuff where somebody said it, where people start to feel uncomfortable in their seats. Yeah, you should, right? You should feel uncomfortable because it needs to change, right? So
exactly. No more sweeping it under the rug, like for the last, as long as history has been remembered. And now all of the organizations like Family Feuds and the action group, and everyone's just kind of now saying, all right, no, we're going to put everything out there, and this is what needs to change, and we need to work together to build better, because we can't just stay in the same spot and let history repeat itself. It's just completely agree with what you're saying. And so we've definitely talked about some difficult topics for some viewers or listeners today, but it is hard to say what the right answer is, but all that really we can focus on now is making sure we're making those steps and working for that better future. And hopefully we've been able to provide our listeners with some food for thought. And in wrapping up our talk, are there any next steps that the action group is looking to make to grow the organization even more? Or are you happy where you are right now and just kind of want to keep things rolling?
No, we're always pushing the envelope. Partnerships is one of the big things that, I've inherited. And one of the mentors once told me, John, you have to work with people to get things done. So I always took that real to heart, to make sure I've expanded on a program with partners and to the community. And like something over COVID, what we were doing is we had some partnerships of people that brought us all kind of food, right? And so I was able to put it out to the community, let the community come in, take the food. Another partner just gave me a bunch of new clothes. They were a liquidator store that couldn't get rid of some of the clothes, brand new clothes, right? I went there and I picked up a big skid full of it, was able to bring it to the center, put it all out, have the community come in, take it for free. So, that's an extension of what we have to do, but that's the need, right? So where I see the need, hey, we got a building, there's not a whole lot of staff, but we can make this work, and let's try and, fulfill the need. With the gymnasiums being closed, the schools aren't offering their gyms. We have a gym, so we've been renting out the gym. I'm back to working Saturdays and Sundays. I don't like working Saturdays and Sunday, but we have a lot of teams, girls baseball teams, girls basketball teams, boys teams. Everyone's renting the gym from Saturday morning to Saturday night, and the same with Sunday, right? And it's just helping the kids to have a spot where, like, the travel teams can't travel, but at least they could practice, at least they could be out with their friends. So we're able to offer the gym up that way too. So I think one of the directions we're going to probably start turning into a little bit more is renting out the facility. So I have big classroom spaces. I'll probably have 3 available in the next coming month. I mean, great spaces, if anyone's looking for rental space, we'd have a turnkey for them. Come on in, rent the space out. Helps with the overhead costs and maintaining the programs in the building. We're hoping to get back to where, we can have all the kids come at one time, but we'll do what we need to do in the meantime. But things are good. Things are good.
I'm glad to hear it. That's kind of all I had for today. I want to thank John. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today and having this discussion with me. I think it's important to have these talks and spread awareness as far as we can. And you can find information about the action group at their website, sandwichteenactiongroup.org, or reach them by their phone number, 519-254-6999. And Family Fuse looks forward to working more with your organization in the future and bringing change to Windsor, Essex. So thank you again, John.
You guys call me anytime for anything. I'm always here.
For sure. Awesome.
Great.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you.